All right, it's time to talk some Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League. Yeah? All right, match week 16 ended at the Anthony Spalding Sports Complex with 2 matches shown live on SportsMax platforms. In the first encounter, Portmore United missed an opportunity to jump to 5th as they were held 1-0 by Tivoli. Now, it was a quick start for Portmore as Romeo Guthrie, the former Arnett man, on his old stomping ground wearing the captain's armband, struck in the 8th minute to give Portmore an early lead. A response from the orange and black came courtesy of Steve Clark, who nodded home from close range to level the contest at 1-1 in the 55th minute. Now let's get the post-match reactions from Tivoli Gardens head coach Jerome Waite, followed by Portmore's Rodolphe Austin.
First and foremost, congrats to both teams. I mean, it was a pretty much very physical game. You notice the referee really struggled throughout that game, and everybody's there to see. But the second half talk, gentlemen, we're not playing. I mean, I remind them, this is the first time I'm seeing Tivoli for this season don't play anything in the first half. Normally we create chances.
We should have finished the game from first half. Got a lot of chances, some good situations that we could have scored from, and we didn't. Half time we talked about it and stuff. A Tivoli team that's always running and have that belief. When you get chances like that against them, you have to score them. So, and that's how it is in football.
Yeah, the Portmore Tivoli fixture was followed by the featured matchup between defending champions Cavalier and Waterhouse, both tussling for a place in the top 4. Dean Smith was on commentary and he has the match highlights.
Full-time highlights. Daniel Parchment guiding the proceedings. Cavalier early getting this opportunity. Calvin, you expected him to finish. So did you expect from Overy. Then another bite from Calvin, but it just wouldn't go into the back of the net. Corner kick came across, so calm from Richard King, so clinical from Jalmaro Calvin. At that time, it was his 9th of the season. Gentegan doing the business from point-blank range. Here's another look at it. Much should be said of the assist from Richard King. Waterhouse continued to venture forward. Shamar Booth booted that one way over the top. Hope would arise in the second half for them. Andre Fletcher, courtesy of a deflection from the cross. That ball came to his path and he guided it from the glancing header beyond Vino Bartlett. 1-1 at that point. Just as the second half started, in the 40th minute thereabout, Andre Fletcher. Cavalier though, pushed forward. Atkinson was left with a lot of work to do here, and he made light work of getting by Christopher Matthews. Laid it on a platter. Neither Steen nor Calvin could find the finish, but it was incoming for Calvin. Ball came back for Overy, who guided it in the path of the advancing Jalmaro Calvin, his 2nd of the evening, 10th in the season. That was a lead restored for Cavalier. Overy really did some good work from the wide areas, producing some tantalizing crosses. Waterhouse behind again after that, but they kept pushing forward. Should have gotten a penalty here. Taken down by Overy was Jaheim Brown. Referee only gave a free kick. The video replays are definitely showing that was in the area. He knew it, but they continued to push forward. Shamar Watson didn't get his body out of the way from that Andre Fletcher chip or dink in the area. And an unmarked Javane Bryan made his mark. 4 goals for the season so far from last year's Golden Boot winner, and saving some of the points for Waterhouse.
So 2-2 it ended. We'll hear from Cavaliers' Rodolphe Speed, but first Marcel Fuzzy-Gale, the Waterhouse coach.
I don't want to owe them on my team. I thought we were good today. I thought we were fantastic. I think, we in the game for most part. I think we start well. I think we get control early position in the game. I said Cavaliers is a good team. Remember earlier talk I said we have to be best. We have to be very disciplined. I thought we were disciplined, but we were very unfortunate to concede those 2 goals. I think you can see those 2 goals, like almost schoolboy errors from us. But nevertheless, we never lose our concentration. We kept our in and we kept our in the game.
You know what? I was more pleased with how we played. I thought we bossed the game most of the time. It was unfortunate, but at least we're coming back to a semblance of what we can do. So, okay.
All right, let's have a look then at the full results from match week 16. Mullines United 3-1 over Harbourview. Peter McGregor with a double there. Humble Line losing 1-0 to Vere United. Arnett Gardens 2-0 over Racing United. Mount Pleasant impressive 4-0 over Dunbeholden. Montego Bay United 2-1 over Chapperton. 1-1 between Portmore and Tivoli, and 2-2 between Cavalier and Waterhouse. Those the Monday night matches. So it leaves the table looking like this. Mount Pleasant 3 points clear of Montego Bay United. Mount Pleasant on 37, Montego Bay United on 34, same as Arnett Gardens, who are in third, but of course Mobay United with a better goal difference, a plus 16 to Arnett's plus 14. Cavalier in fourth on 28 points, then Waterhouse in fifth on 27th, and Portmore United at this stage holding on to the sixth playoff spot with 24 points, but still a long way to go from the playoffs. Let's just get that clear. Tivoli now in 7th on 20 points, and in the relegation zone, Harbourview on 12 and Humble Line on 10. Harbourview really struggling at this stage of the competition. All right, our football analyst Dwight Jeremiah joins us via Zoom to discuss the latest round of action. Dwight, I really liked how it was described by the Tivoli coach, Jerome Waite. I'm not sure if I've heard it described like that before, when he said the referee struggled in the first half, and we all saw it. Did you see it, Dwight?
Well, I'm gonna take it in a positive way, that the game was played at good pace, and as such it gave the referee a lot over. But we saw it this week that referees probably struggled. We saw in one of the highlights there where a penalty should have been awarded to Waterhouse, and we saw that on Sunday as well, where there were cases of penalties not called because referee better deemed they were on the wrong side of the line. So yeah, maybe it was a week where referees struggled.
All right, let's talk about that second game last night, Cavalier versus Waterhouse, ending 2-2. Will Waterhouse walk away from that one taking a lot of positives and feeling good about the improvements they showed in that game? As much as I suppose the Cavalier team will as well, as the coach Rodolphe Speed pointed out, getting back to the quality football that they know they can play.
Yeah, it's one of those games. Yeah, they share the spoils, and maybe it's a game in which they'll feel like both of them were satisfied with stuff, but they'll walk away feeling too that there's much to work on for Waterhouse defensively. I mean, the goals they conceded, I think they should have done much better, and they could have conceded more as well. But for some faulty finishing from Cavalier. But the fact that they were able to come back twice against the defending champions would have really done their confidence a lot of good. And for Cavalier, sort of getting back up to speed. Without Speed did say, no pun intended there, he did say that the week off would be massive for his team after the cluster of games that he had both locally and in the Caribbean. So he felt that he would begin to see his team back to the ways that you expect them in local football, having split visions earlier this season. I think he would be pleased with how they came on.
Yeah, and on the Cavalier point, Dwight, they have a possible clash coming up in March against Lionel Messi's Inter Miami. Of course, if Inter Miami beat Sporting Kansas in their match in the USA to get to the round of 16. So a possibility of Messi's Inter taking on Cavalier in the round of 16 of the CONCACAF Club Championship. Are Cavalier ready for an opponent like that?
I don't know who can be ready for Messi himself, but as a team, Inter Miami, they've had their weaknesses. Messi has found it difficult at times to save them. But Messi, you just can't be ready for him. He's a player I admire, and I think a lot of the Cavalier players, even if they are, say, Ronaldo fans, put it that way, because those are the two players that have been rivals for years, they will be hoping that Inter Miami comes through, because I'm pretty sure a lot of them will want to grace the field with Lionel Messi. But in terms of footballing, I think would feel like he has gotten to this point. I won't say he feels like anything from here is a bonus, but to be able to test himself, even as a coach and his players, against Inter Miami, with arguably the best player in the world for the last 15 years, some say ever. I think they'll be pretty much looking forward to it, whether or not they feel like they'll be ready to get past Inter Miami, but they'll be looking forward to it.
Yeah, of course, that match set for early March and mid-March, home and away, Cavalier against the winner of that Inter Miami Sporting Kansas.
And I'd love to see it myself.
Yeah. So let's move on to the leaders now, Mount Pleasant, Dwight, because I want you to tell me just how good they are at the moment, because they've scored 41 goals already this season to lead the table. No other team has scored as many as 30, and they've already passed 40. So Theodore Whitmore and his coaching staff must be very pleased with how things have gone for them so far in the regular season.
And when I spoke to him on the weekend, I guess they're getting used to scoring goals, so he was very pleased with the clean sheet. Just conceded 9 goals so far this season, not yet into double figures as a team. But they have so much attacking power going forward. They started with Bradford, Green and Bailey. And then you have the likes of Nelson could come into play, and Campbell as well, Devontae Campbell. So there's so much option attacking-wise for them. They remind me so much of my Premier League team in England, Liverpool. I know some people want to hear me say that. But yeah, they have so much going forward, but difficult to break down. I think Dyer and Cummins are really forming a very good defensive partnership with Topi out. They're really probably, some would argue, the best pairing in the league at the moment, because they complement each other so well, and Cummins, we know, can play outside as well. So when they do attack with two, then they spread wide, and Cummins does give them that option as well, to allowing their fullback to push up. So they're a really solid unit now, and I did ask McCalla, who continues to turn in the numbers, his trademark header, similar to the 2 goals he scored when he won the championship from Mount Pleasant. He did one on the weekend. And he just consistently gives you 8 out of 10, as myself and George were discussing. But he said, you know what? It's a long way to go, but certainly they feel like, this is a season that they want to return to the summit in terms of lifting the title. That's the header you saw there. Yeah, it's McCalla. And he runs from probably center of the penalty box. And I don't know how, with him scoring so many of those goals, that opponents continue to allow him that free run from back to front. It just amazes me that, opponents continue to allow him that time and space. Yeah. But Mount Pleasant, really decent unit, and beginning to play the way Theodore Tupper Whitmore and Ferguson wants them to play.
Yeah, and we just saw the Shaquille Bradford goal before that. I was mentioning on Friday's show, Dwight, that Shaquille Bradford is the type of player that when he starts scoring, he scores regularly. He scores in clusters, and he has now scored 5 goals in the last 5 matches for Mount Pleasant. So he's living up to that style of being a goal scorer in clusters.
But not only that, and you're right with that, he does that very often when he scores, but the way he's doing it now, it's not just scoring the goals, his movements too, because before that goal, the defender was unaware of where he was, and as a striker, you always say, if you can surprise defenders, then you're doing great. He came on the blind side of the defender, who just didn't see him, and he backed off. He was backing away when the ball from Green was about to come in. And then as the ball was played, he attacked the space he wanted. So he occupied somewhere else. And that's good. You want to not occupy the space you want. And he did that expertly. And by the time the defender saw him, he was already poking that ball away from him, in front of him. So his movement was good as well. So that would suggest that this scoring streak will continue for a while.
Yeah, and in case anybody forgot, Dwight, Dunbeholden, of course, would have beaten Mount Pleasant in the first round. So how important was this revenge for Mount Pleasant?
It was important, and I can say it because I did asked McCalla, and he said, you know what, we came into this game feeling like we had a score to settle because this team has created the only blemish on their resume so far. So he felt that, he said as sets of players, they wanted to make it right. They want to show Dunbeholden that was a fluke and that was just an off day. So they went into the game with that in mind. You're right, Mariah. And they did display that. I think the one disappointing player that might be disappointed coming out of that game is Bailey not being able to extend his scoring streak. Just as he came off, a penalty was awarded, and if he had stayed on it maybe a minute more, he would have been taking that to join the other players now on 10 goals. But yeah, they went into that game wanting to show Dunbeholden. I'm worried for Dunbeholden just by how they look, how they appear. They were so easy to get at, and really didn't trouble Mount Pleasant at the attacking end. It's worrying signs, you know. From the poor start, they had a little purple patch, 3 games winning streak, but now they're just over and above the drop zone, and it's worrying.
Yeah, well, you talk about worrying for Dunbeholden. I am worried for Harbourview Football Club, a club with a tremendous history, a rich history. One of these days, we're going to have to do a deep dive into what's really happening at Harbourview, because we're accustomed to seeing them further up the table, and at this stage they're in the relegation zone. But we have to leave it at that for today. Dwight, as usual, pleasure speaking with you, and keep up the fantastic work on the Jamaica Premier League and, well, I guess several other football products on the home of champions. Take care, man. We'll chat again soon.
It's my pleasure, and all the best for the new year, guys.
All right, Dwight Jeremiah, the Prime Minister of the West, chatting to us on the SportsMax Zone.
And for the second JPL discussion, Ricardo, we haven't gotten around to your team, Arnett Gardens. And you are a part of the panel, so you have to take responsibility.
Well, my team, Arnett, quietly doing our business, sitting comfortably in third, and when it's time to strike, you won't be able to deny talking about us.
You better strike, because I won't forget.
And more news out of Trinidad and Tobago plus Interactive coming up.